Welcome to this week's Forge tutorial. This week we'll be sewing our own animal plushies, like this little penguin here. For this project you'll need some basic sewing supplies. First you'll need some needles. One needle should cut it, but you might want a couple extras. And a couple of colors of thread. For this we need white, orange, and black, embroidery floss or 2 strands of thread, and then matching fabric. In this case we're using felt. Also need a pencil or some kind of marking tool and our template for the penguin pattern. You could use these pins if you need to, and a thimble, but they're totally optional. Scissors of course, and not pictured, cotton balls or batting for stuffing. We've drawn up the penguin pattern for you, and you can find that at the attached Instructables link in the description. And a quick note, if you're using our penguin pattern, when you print it out it'll scale up a little bit, so it'll be a little bit bigger than the plushie I'm making today. Now it's time to trace these patterns onto our fabric. So first we'll start with our white felt and the face or belly of the penguin and trace an outline. Then go ahead and cut out this face and belly of the penguin. I would recommend putting it towards the edge of the fabric, not in the center as I did. This will give you fewer scraps and save some usable fabric for later. Repeat this process with all of the pieces on the pattern, and you can see here I've already cut out my orange feet and nose pieces. The black felt can offer a bit of a challenge because you obviously can't see your pencil marks. So to remedy this, hold it in your hand and carefully cut around the template while holding it in place. And you'll need to be sure to do this for 2 body pieces, front and back, for your penguin. It can be a little tricky to hold the template piece in place and cut around, so there's another option using a pin. Simply take a sewing pin and pin the pattern piece to the felt. This will hold it in place and make it a little bit easier to cut out the body pattern pieces. Here I've made sure to pin it so that it doesn't interfere with my scissors as I go around the outer edge. Go ahead and do the same thing for the 2 wings. Finish cutting out any of the pieces that you haven't already and get ready to sew. We're going to start with our black embroidery floss and our belly in just a second. Embroidery floss is actually 6 threads, and we need to separate that so we only have 2. Once you have only 2 strands of thread, go ahead and thread your needle. Now tie a knot on the long end of the thread. I'm using a simple overhand knot, but if you want to get fancy you can look up how to tie a French knot. We're going to start by sewing on the penguin's eyes, and we're going to use a back stitch to do this, or maybe it's just half of a back stitch. Simply start from the rear of the pattern and push upward towards yourself in the front of the penguin and pull the thread all the way through. If your knot was properly tied, it should hold just fine. Then go back down through the eye to the back of the pattern again. And our stitch can't be seen because the black floss matches the black fabric. To make sure the eye stays in place, we're going to run a few stitches through the original knot we had here until it is nice and secure. Once we have both eyes sewn on, we're going to switch to our orange thread and sew on our beak. The technique here is exactly the same, coming from the rear of the pattern up towards the front and then back down towards the rear, and finishing the knot with a few stitches underneath that original knot and stitch. We should have both eyes and our beak on now, so it's time to attach the penguin face and belly to the actual body of the penguin. Take one of the body pieces of the penguin and place the face and belly of the penguin that you've just completed on top to make sure it fits. To attach the face to the body, we're actually going to switch to our white thread now, and we're going to use what is called a whip stitch. To do a whip stitch, we're going to start from the rear of the pattern again and come up through the white, but very close to the edge of the white felt. Simply pull all the way up, your knot should hold, and then we're going to go back through the black felt, very close again to the edge, and you can see we kind of start these loops that go all the way around the white and black and hold it in place. You're going to do this all the way around the circumference of the face and belly, and then finish your knot behind the pattern like the previous times. Since we've finished attaching the face to the body, we're going to switch back to our black thread because we're going to be attaching the feet, and this will be coming through the face of the black felt. So we're going to use a similar back stitch here by starting from the rear of the pattern, pushing our needle up towards the front, pulling it taut, and then back down through towards the rear of the pattern. Then, just as you did with the eyes and the beak, you're going to need to do a finishing knot at the rear of this part of the pattern. We're going to do this for both of our feet, and we should be ready to move on to the final stages. You can see that the rear of this pattern looks a little messy, but I'm not too concerned because I'm going to cover that up with the second body piece. We're going to lay the back part of our penguin on top just to make sure everything fits and get ready to stitch this up. We're going to use a whip stitch again here, so take your black embroidery floss and whip stitch all the way around the circumference of the body until we get to the feet, and then we'll want to leave a little bit of an opening for the final stuffing of our penguin. Once you get that final whip stitch right by the penguin's foot, then we're going to leave an opening to take our cotton balls or our batting. If you stop here, you've got a little finger puppet, so there's a bonus project. But let's go ahead and finish making it a plushie. You can see here I've cut my thread and needle connected because I will have to finish this stitch in a second. But first I'm going to take some of my batting. If you have cotton balls, simply rip them apart, break them apart until they're more fibrous, and stuff it inside of your plushie until you're comfortable with the level of plushness. To finish up, you obviously can't do a whip stitch all the way around the feet because you will kind of tie them in. So I kind of do a back stitch or two through until I'm in the middle, do another whip stitch or two, another back stitch or two, and then finish it up with a whip stitch and finishing knot on the back of the penguin. So there's your mini plushie, but we can't stop here because our penguin doesn't have wings. So we will add our wings by doing a couple of whip stitches from the back of the penguin and trying as best we can to hide our finishing knot. So here I started from the top, should have started from the bottom up, and my knot would have been a little bit more hidden. I can easily come back, strip this stitch, and redo it. Once you're satisfied with the position of the first wing, go ahead and move on to the second and repeat this process. Now your penguin is complete. We hope you'll use these skills to make other animal plushies. Thanks for watching, have fun, and keep making.